Wagwan, the people. What's going on, guys? Man, I feel like it's been forever since I've done a podcast. You know, fighting and everything has been getting in the way of this. So now I am back in the studio for season 3 of Wagwan with Ode Osborne. If you don't know what Wagwan means, again, it is what's going on in Patois. And joining me in the studio today, we have Robby Squyers. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Squyres.
Better than squirrels.
Robby Squyers. Robby, you work for the UFC, correct?
Third-party contractor.
Third-party contractor.
Yes.
So walk me through a little bit of what you do over there at the headquarters.
I get beat up every day, and I love it. Pretty much I just offer pad services or assistance with production or other things. So I have my hands in a little bit of faucets. So.
And what do you do on the production side?
Like I get beat up in commercials. I've been choked out by Glover and some other fighters, some high-end fighters, and yeah, it's fun.
That's awesome, man. So tell me, who's somebody that you really enjoy holding pad for? I'm putting you on the spot.
That's fine. Everybody I get to work with, man.
Yeah.
I have people who beat me up every day, and then I got people who I get to work with once in a blue moon. But I'm just thankful that I'm trusted enough because with all the great coaches in the city, I get to come in and be used wherever and whenever, from contender series to production help to just getting beat up by Forrest. It's a blessing.
Yeah, I see you. I love it, man. I love what you're doing. I
Thank
see you a lot over there working with the fighters. Not only fighters, but I see you working with people that work for the UFC too, like Becky Summers. I see you working with Becky, and I think that's amazing. I see you guys like progressing. It's like the first time I saw you working with Becky, you know what I mean? It was like, okay, she's getting better. And it's like a year later, I see you working with Becky, and it's like, wow, I see you guys have found a system.
Yes.
So that's amazing, man.
Yes.
That is really good. So you have a career. You don't have a job. You have a career.
I get to do what I love every day.
Yes.
And it's a bonus that, I get paid for, and it's at Las Vegas and all this other stuff. But I really get to pour into people and use what I've walked through the last 15 years to not only better people in the fight world, but just better people's lives.
Yeah. So how long have you lived here in Las Vegas?
8 years.
8 years. Man,
years, yeah.
I've only been here for 2 years, and it's felt like
Forever.
Yeah. it really does. So I'm sure you've seen more changes, because I've seen in the last 2 years so many changes with like developmental and just environmental. So what are some things that you've seen that has changed, if there's any, in the last 8 years? Because I love it here. You know what I mean? It is the land of opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I love it. So what are some things for you that would you say that you've seen that has changed here in Las Vegas?
Vegas is a transient city, so if you're here more than 5 years, you're pretty much a local, and you get to see casinos being built, casinos get tore down, projects built up, projects closed down. But I think the consistent thing is that people want better for their lives here, and if you have that attitude, I'm gonna go get it, you can literally go out and get it. And I think people come to the city with the hopes of gambling big and whatnot, but if you take that risk on yourself, you can do great things.
Yes. Speaking of that, I've seen some homeless people where their homelessness just doesn't add up, right? They'll have no shoes on, completely barefoot, and a Gucci backpack.
Yep.
And I'm like, that doesn't quite add up. Your homelessness doesn't add up. So you know that, Vegas got to them.
Oh, absolutely. There's different levels of homelessness. And I can say that I've been homeless. And during COVID, believe it or not, there's a group of people that live in Las Vegas that are considered, I'm not calling them that, but they're labeled as the mole people. And they live under the hotels of Las Vegas.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I heard about that. Also, I heard that there's like a dangerous part that you don't want to go to with like dangerous homeless people that'll come out and shank you.
Yep.
What is that? I didn't know if that was a rumor or if that's true.
No, absolutely, it's true. A lot of people who succumb to homelessness in Vegas are either one of two groups: the mentally ill transplant people that don't get the access to healthcare that they need, or you get the people who gambled their whole life away, become hooked up on drugs, alcohol, the life, and they end up down there as well. And they have their own hierarchy, they have their own systems. And so when outsiders like us try to go down there and see what it is, that's where people get violent.
That's what I've heard. I've heard they think that we're trying to take their territory, and so they get protective over their territory.
Yeah.
I didn't know there's a whole world for homeless people here in Vegas. It's crazy. I did not know that. And some of them actually, like, I'll talk to them, and I'm actually quite surprised of how intelligent a lot of them are. And that's my ignorance. I'm like, wait a minute, they're homeless, not stupid. You know what I'm saying? That's just my own ignorance. But I talked to them, and a lot of them are super intelligent, but it's unfortunate, man.
Fast money, man.
Yeah.
Fast money, reckless choices.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because you can't really help them. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to go right back to the casino and chase that high. Because at some point or another, they got that high of winning on a machine or something, and they're constantly chasing that high. Yeah. It's kind of like life, though. That's kind of like how we are as humans.
Oh, fighters do it the same all the time, I'm injured, but I got to fight. I got to make this money. And
that's a good point. That is, I fought so many fights injured because I was like, I got to fight. Yeah. You know what I mean? Don't complain about it. That's just what you sign up for. You know what I'm saying? But here in Las Vegas, speaking of homeless, I see homeless people. It's almost like there's a pocket of them in one area, and they just like socialize with each other and tell each other things. I'm like, what y'all talking about?
You know what I mean? You've seen like John Wick, like just like the pigeon guy. He runs everything. They're just down on their luck in certain areas, but other than that, they're very, very good people to have in your pocket.
I know, right? I got just a pocket full of homeless people. Like, yo,
I got a guy.
I bet you they know where the best food is, the best places to gamble. I bet you they'll tell you all the insights you need to know. But we don't take the time of our day to show them any kind of attention or anything like that.
I'd say that the services in Vegas are very underutilized.
Yeah.
And there's a ton. So it all comes down to like personal choice, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I noticed that not just with that services, there's a lot of services in general that are super underutilized. For example, whenever time it rains heavy here, there's flash floods. The amount of money casinos make or Vegas makes a year, they could fix that. Easily. You know what I'm saying? They could easily fix that. But they're like, why do we need to fix this? It doesn't rain. It only rains like once every season or whatever the case may be. But when it does rain, it ruins. Like I saw this gas station when that was just like flooded, flooded. Buildings get flooded. You know what I'm saying? Underground highway paths get flooded. So it's like they should do something. You know what I'm saying? All this money they have here in Vegas, but they don't fix that.
No. It's cheaper to keep a problem than it is to actually alleviate the problem.
Yeah, that's true. And that goes with a lot of things too, not just, it goes with our education system.
Oh yeah.
Vegas is what, 49th in the state for worst education in the United States. We're 49 out of 50. 50 being the worst one. 49 out of 50. Yo, that's crazy. But I have a theory. So my theory is, and tell me what you think about this theory, is that, I moved here from Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin is built around, sharing farmland and, cultivating things, family. Yeah. So there's a much more of a backbone or a foundation. Whereas Vegas, probably started out where like one man and a couple of his friends was like, yo, let's go out into the desert so we can do a bunch of illegal shit, you know? And then they started bringing more and more people. Before you know it, there's casinos. And then they're like, all right, let's make a bank so we can, we don't got to bring all of our funds in a suitcase. And then eventually a bank came, and then they're like, oh, you know what? Since people are starting to move here, let's just build, some other stuff like a church and a school, but that was the last thing to be built. So I feel like because Vegas was built around, things of material values, the education system today suffers.
Absolutely.
But Vegas is isn't it one of the newer cities, would you say?
Yes, its development is insane. Like every month, I think 5,000 people move here from reports. That's huge. So if your money capital is coming from all these people moving in and developments and stuff, why worry about the education system? Why worry about kids who can go and work at hotels for $10 an hour? And
no, true.
You know, they don't want that. I can become more than where I'm at.
No, that is a fact. That is a fact. That's a fact. And it, like you said before earlier, I think it cost them less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It cost them way less, which I'm hoping, man. I'm really hoping that that mentality changes over time.
Yeah.
You know, because if they continue with that mindset, it's just going to get worse. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't get any better.
You put a Band-Aid on a scar.
I was just going to say that. I went and I spoke at the school this morning, Gunderson Middle School. And that was a lot of things, you know, a lot of the kids in the school were actually from outer state. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the things that I was talking about, was doing different things to change that systematic, you know, the systematic oppression, the system, you know what I'm saying? Different things that happen, you know what I mean? And the only way that I feel we can change this system, our ways, is just time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's still a new city.
Yeah.
It's time. But outside of that, Vegas is amazing. If you're trying to get into networking, it is amazing.
It's the hub.
Yes. Yeah. So walk me through, speaking of networking, walk me through some things that you're into right now.
My hands are everywhere. Like I'm just an octopus. So I'm in the fight world. I'm in the medical world.
Yeah. You hear that, ladies? His hands are everywhere.
No. I can say that. That's okay. I'm in the hotel industry. Starting in November, I'll be with one of the new hotels on the Strip. Shout out Fontainebleau.
What's that like? Oh, Fontainebleau.
Yeah,
yo, I used to go to the one in Florida.
Miami's fire.
Yes.
So
yes.
Fire. Yeah. So they're coming out here. They're bringing the Club Live out here. So I'll definitely be there.
Let's go.
So you got a guy.
Yo, that's amazing.
So I'll be doing concierge for that company, and whatever you guys need in Vegas, that's what it's gonna be. So.
What is that like? You know what I'm saying? What kind of things do you see when you do things like that? You know, because sometimes, man, I feel like you see a million people coming from all different part of the world in Vegas. So what are some crazy stuff that you run into, you know what I'm saying, working in that industry? Because I know you see some crazy shit. I'm trying to find out.
Oh man, I've actually had a prostitute's teeth fall into my hand.
What? Tell me about that. Hold up. What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I was doing security, and we get a call, woman getting beat by a pimp. It's routine in Vegas. Happens more than you think. So it's domestic violence. It happens.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, I'm desensitized because I could talk about it like, oh, you know, another day, another Tuesday. So we're having a conversation. I respond to her, and she's talking, and her 4 front teeth fall into my hand. And before she could even say, what was that? I have them in my glove, and I give them to the AMR, the EMT that was responding.
Man.
So I've seen that. I've seen a lot of violence, but I've seen a lot of good things in the city. I got to do an escort for Dave Chappelle. Greatest comedian alive.
Yo, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How is it?
Tried to get me to smoke with him on my post, and I couldn't. So it's a big regret. So
you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry. If Dave Chappelle or Mike Tyson, I've said this before. If Mike Tyson was like, "Hey, you want to smoke right now?" I'm like, "Yes, Mike.
Yes,
I would love to smoke with you, Mike, because
love Mike.
You're Mike Tyson, and dude, Mike Tyson is he's so full of knowledge and wisdom. I listen to his podcast, and I just get blown away by that guy. You know, have you met Mike?
I have, yes.
And how is that? I've always wanted to meet him.
So I did a meet and greet with Mike. He's, of course, being a fighter, he's my favorite heavyweight. He's short, explosive, dangerous. And people don't really realize how dangerous that man was or is. There's a photo of him, I think, after he beat Evander Holyfield here in Vegas, and there's a stream of Metro officers just looking like, I'm not going to do anything. Like, to have that type of
power,
that's real power.
It is. No, it really is.
But he's a very kind soul. And that's one thing that I hope to exude as a fighter. Like, you just want to be kind.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool, man. So, was Dave Chappelle the person that you were like, oh man, I'm so excited to be
I had
him?
to be a fangirl. Yeah. I was like, I can't take a photo, but I got to shake your hand and say thank you for, keeping the laughs up.
Yeah.
Growing up in San Francisco, I was multicultural. And it wasn't until I moved to Vegas that I didn't realize that the world is still not as multicultural. So having that, like, oh, I grew up with brothers. I grew up with, Latinos and Asians and stuff like that. And coming out here and seeing that, it was like, this is a piece of me.
Yeah.
That funniness, that humility, that humor,
Yeah, and that's more okay. I feel like we've talked about a lot of negatives about Vegas, and it's just, you know what I'm saying? Now we got to replace it with the positives, because
absolutely,
the positives for me
definitely
outweigh the negatives by like a trillion. Honestly, for me, I love the weather. When people say, "Oh, but it gets really humid, it gets really dry and hot and above 100," I'm like, "Have you been to Wisconsin?" Yeah, it gets negatives. And it gets cold and dry.
Do you know what snow is?
Yeah. So I'll take it, man. I'll take it. But one of my favorite things about living here in Vegas is the fact that there's not really a culture. You know what I'm saying? So in Wisconsin, there is a culture, right? I grew up in Florida. In Florida, there's a culture.
Yep.
Which is crazy as hell.
Yep. I've been to the Dirty Rabbit. I know. I know about it.
Not the Dirty Rabbit.
Where they at?
Yo, so yeah, I love that I can have a conversation with you here, go across the street, meet someone, from Lithuania, meet another person from China, and then meet another person from Africa.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You're not just meeting people from all over the United States. You're meeting people from all over the world.
Yes.
And so with that, it brings diversity. Anywhere you go, it's diverse. Everywhere you go, it's diverse. That's my favorite part about Las Vegas. And,
absolutely.
And it's like this, I feel like a lot of states feel, there are certain areas in Wisconsin where they feel like if it becomes diverse, it'll ruin the property taxes, or it'll ruin the neighborhood, or you know what I'm saying? A lot of areas are like that.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Vegas embraces diversity, because it's like it works.
Yeah.
It works. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we all afraid of? What are we afraid of? It works. And not just that, but man, driving into my neighborhood and just seeing all the kids play together, you know what I'm saying? Like, is just the greatest thing. I want to be able to raise my kids someday and be like, hey, 100 years ago
was not like this.
It was not like this. I want my kid to look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want my kid to be like, what? Nah, that's crazy. That's how I want it to be. I want it to be like my kid to think that is crazy. Because if he thinks that's crazy, that means we've progressed in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And that's, and that's what I would love. What are some things that you like about living here in Vegas?
I like the accessibility to get to either coast quickly. We have a really good airport system.
Yeah.
So if I need to go New York, Miami, cool, 4 hours. If I go to Hawaii, 5 hours.
Yeah.
No problem. But like you were saying, you get all these mixed groups and types of people. But the one thing that we all resonate with is face punching or being aggressive and violent in the art of fighting.
Yeah.
Martial arts brings everybody together.
Man, it does. It does. Where else? Okay. What other sport you gonna see Donald Trump front and center? You know what I'm saying? What other sport? No other sport. If he goes to a football game, he's gonna be in the box office. You know what I'm saying? But he's been to 2 or 3 UFC fighters. UFC fights, front and center, cage side. You could bleed on him.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's so odd because fighting is such a violent sport, but it's also beautiful, also spiritual, also gravitational, where it gravitates people to each other. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing more humbling than you fighting somebody and you guys have the utmost respect for each other after you guys fight.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the most humbling experience. I've had people say, why do you guys hug after you just get done fighting? I'm like, because you don't understand. You just beat the shit out of each other.
Absolutely.
That is the worst thing you can do to a human being other than killing them. That's the next worst thing. You know what I'm saying? So that feeling is spiritual. You guys both went to war, and like you said, it brings people together.
It brings people together, but it also brings the best out of you as an individual. And I think a lot of people don't resonate or recognize what that's like, because for 10, 15 weeks, I've trained my body to literally beat yours into the ground or to stop you from hurting me because we know what we're doing. We're both grown adults.
Yeah.
This sport is unforgiving, but those people know you better than some of your friends.
No, for sure.
And there's nothing but respect after that because at the end of the day, it's business. You move forward.
No, 100%, man. And you see it all over, you know. But another thing I noticed, though, a lot of times, Vegas, a lot of the MMA gyms here, the martial arts gyms, they, it's almost like because it's such a transient place and things just keep it pushing, keep it moving. There's so many changes all the time. There's, you know, a lot of the gyms lack stability. Yeah. I do notice that, though. That's one of the things I notice. Again, can't blame it because
everybody's in and out.
In and out, in and out, in and out. So there's no real structure to be had. What do you think can change? Because I've been to two gyms here in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? One so different than the other. Yeah. So what do you think can change in that aspect of the MMA scene here in Las Vegas?
I think it comes down to the individual's mindset. When you look for a coach, you are also looking for somebody to not only develop you into a better fighter, but into a better person. And a lot of the times, coaches are looked at as the one and only. Yeah. And when that happens, it's very frustrating because you will get disappointed. People will fail you. Yeah. It's about how do you respond to that? Do you internalize it? Do you keep pushing forward? When I started out martial arts 15 years ago, my coach would walk me through everything and I wouldn't get the attention I felt like I needed. But then I come to a city like this and I necessarily don't see that same, like, he's walking you through it, but you're also doing the work. There's always that other component about yourself. And I think a lot of people don't carry that same traditional martial arts mindset when it comes to fight sports. And there's a big difference between being a fighter and a martial artist. And I wish people got the difference.
Yes, there's a huge difference. Sean Strickland is a fighter. Demetrius Johnson is a martial artist. There's two huge difference, you know what I'm saying? And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad. I consider myself a martial artist. Yes. I don't consider myself a fighter. Yeah. You know, there's a big difference. When I fight, I try my best to be honorable and respectful. You know what I mean? Then there's fighters who entertain for the fans. I want to be able to entertain as a martial artist. Yeah. So I'm trying to find that balance. You know what I'm saying?
That niche, yeah.
Yeah, where I can like entertain, but also still be respectful and honorable. Because the reason why I choose to be respectful and honorable because I came from an educational background, and I want kids to watch me and be like, you know what? That's the guy I want to be like. I want to have a character like that. Someone that, is humble. Someone, I'm not saying I'm all those things, but that's what I want to portray. I want to portray, humility, kindness, honesty, someone who's spiritual. I'm someone who believes heavily in God, so I want people to look, and when they see me fight, they hear me talk, they're like, man, what is that thing about Ode Osborne? Why is he always so happy? Why has he got so much energy? What's that light about him? Yeah. He's always lighting up the room. What is oh, it's God. And I'm like, yeah. So that's what I want to, I want to be able to walk in that light. Absolutely. So that, because, I go and speak at schools, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. Yeah. But I can be it. If you live it and you are that thing, then you don't have to talk about it. People will come to see it eventually.
Gravitate towards it.
Exactly.
What I've learned, especially walking through what I've walked through these last couple of years, is that when there's something about you, your life shines differently to other people. People in America have this really big concept of, you have to be an undefeated fighter. There's only one, and his name's Floyd Mayweather, the greatest, right? Yeah. You go overseas, I got guys who fought 300 times. They've lost over 100 times. Yeah. Does that differ anything? No, because they got in, they did what they had to do, and here in America, we get to do this. It's not forced upon us. And I think if people understood that this is all opportunity to make a better life, maybe we'd appreciate it a bit more.
Man, and that was the thing that I realized when I came to this country. I told this on Brandon Fitzgerald's podcast. I told him when I came to this country in 2001, My mom picked me up from the airport, and we went to her apartment in Brooklyn, New York, right? The first thing I did when I got to that apartment was I took my clothes off, went to the bathroom, and got in the tub, you know, because I'd always seen like bathtubs on TV and people taking baths on TV when I was in Jamaica. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, someday I'm gonna take a bath in a bathtub. You know what I mean? That was always my thing. Like, I'm gonna be able to do that. I'm gonna be able to get on, you know, I'm gonna be able to ride a bike. I'm gonna be able to do this. So the first thing I did was I got in that bath because I'd never felt hot water and I'd never seen a bathtub, you know? So that was, for me, it's like, wow, like people take, and I was like, wow, people take the little things like this for granted so much. And that day, you know,
culture.
it is, man, it really is. And I don't take anything for granted, you know, because of those moments where, you know, I've been through a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I know what I didn't have, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Oh, I get those aha moments myself. I call them aha moments because it's like you have to take that step back and be like, I earned this. Let me hug myself, because a lot of people they don't do that. I get it all the time when I get new gear. When I first started out, I had to use loaner gear because I was poor.
Yeah,
you
me
know?
too, man. Me too.
And so like not having to go into the loaner bin and get busted up, smelly gloves. I look back, and even to this day, like I get free gear all the time. It's still like I made it.
Yeah,
you know.
I know.
I may not be making those McGregor checks, and that's okay.
That's all right.
That's not my purpose. I feel just the fact that I can say like, look, I wanted to be a fighter. I became a fighter. Became a champion.
Yeah.
Cool. If I never do anything else, I've done enough.
That's amazing, man.
And so now I get to pour that mindset to the people I get to work with.
Yeah, that's amazing, you know? Man. And if you ever get an opportunity, I would love for you to come in with me and, you know, speak to the kids.
Oh, whenever you want.
Because, you know, they always, I'm sure they're sick of hearing my voice telling them, you know what I'm saying? So it's always good to have new voices and stuff like that, you know. But I'm going to touch on something you talked about, you know, the instant gratification of a person or of a younger adult is getting less and less. What I mean is that bathtub for me, right? That was an instant gratification. That was a gratifying moment where I was like, oh man, this is amazing. A bathtub, you know, but now these kids, everybody, we have access to social media, Instagram. We can see everything on our phone. Yeah. So those gratifications, those gratifying moments, like a simple going to the park and identifying how beautiful the park is. Yeah. We don't get excited as much anymore. Yeah. Like we used to, because you know, we're so we get so much through our phones.
Oh, absolutely.
So we lose those moments, you know what I'm saying, which is sad. Yeah. And I'm so blessed that I was able to grow up in a place where I didn't have any of that. Yeah. You know, so it'll always be a part of me. You know, Kingston, Jamaica will always be a part of me, man. The slums, man. Yeah. Yeah. It'll always, you know what I mean? Some of the stuff I've seen and it just always touches my heart. Like, man, like God, I don't know why you chose me and plucked me out of that area and put me here, but I appreciate everything that you've done for me.
You know, he does that when you're obedient to him. You know,
it's true.
And I can say that firsthand experience, because there's way many better coaches that I look up to even in this city. And I don't compare myself. That's one thing I've learned. If you compare yourself to somebody else's life situation, Instagram, whatever, you're robbing yourself of your own joy. Yes. Getting back to the phone comment, the U.S. Department, I think, of Education came out and said that our attention spans have diminished to that of like a goldfish. Yes. Like with TikTok, and I don't use TikTok, but like Instagram or X, whatever you want to call it.
Can't call it X.
Right. Our perception of reality has changed so much. And if you can back away from the phone and back away from what this celebrity is doing or that, you really get to be in the moment. And I think a lot of us lack that, and I've been working on that myself.
That's amazing.
Just being there, you know. It's beautiful.
Yeah. What are some things that, if you don't mind me asking, what are some things that you've gone through to get you here? You know what I'm saying? That you can look back and think about and be like, you know what? Back then, I was angry that I was going through that. But now I am so glad I went through that, because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have went to the next step, and then I wouldn't have been here where I am right now.
Yeah. No, I have a pretty honest one. So everybody who knows me thinks I'm kind of soft, and that's valid to a point.
That's good though, man.
But it's not, because as a soft teenager, you get picked on and
yeah.
bullied.
But that means I'm saying it's good that you that people think that, because you're not.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You'd rather people thinking that you're soft than and you not being soft. You know what I'm saying?
It's a choice.
Yes. Because that's good. That means that you are humble.
I try.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. My martial arts journey, I was an angry kid, and I got jumped by a group of kids that didn't like my friends at the time. Wrong place, wrong time. And I was so hurt by it. I didn't have leadership growing up, so this is going to be really emotional. I tried to buy a gun, and I tried to handle things as a man should, because in this culture, if you're not reactive or you're not proactive with, being that guy, you get looked at a certain way. So as soon as I got out of the hospital, I went to try to buy a firearm, and I went to try to go handle it. But my dumbass trusted the wrong people, and the person I tried to buy it from was who became my mentor later on, was a gang task force cop in San Francisco. He was a friend of my mom's, and he told my mom, like, all right, well, we got your son, he's doing this, but we're going to give him some options. And I was 17 at the time, and with me buying that would have been 2 strikes as felonies.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, and got me into a program where I was able to actually learn self-defense through a gym, World Team USA out in San Francisco, and I was there for 10 years. And from that, you look back and we're like, man, if I wasn't angry or reactive, I'd never be here.
Wow.
And tell me 10 years ago that I'd be in Vegas, I would have laughed. Like,
wow. And what do you think you took away from that experience?
If you take a chance on people, they can actually surprise you. Somebody took a chance on me, and I ran with it. I was at the gym cleaning because I couldn't afford it. And then through that taught me humility, that taught me how to teach kids, that taught me how to teach adults. And I did that for many years. And now I'm in Vegas, and I never look back and say, oh, I'm here because of my hard work. No, I'm here because people took a chance on me, and now I can give back.
Wow.
That's what I want to do.
That's amazing. That's impressive, man. And I love the fact that you can think about all the things that you've gone through and, just use it to be ambitious about the things that you're going to go through. You know what I'm saying? And I love that, man. Yeah. We need more people like you, honestly. We do. And not just here, but even in like the education system. When I say education, I don't mean like school-wise education.
No, but like teaching. And
yeah. Every time I say education, people always think I mean like sit in a classroom. But we need that, you know what I'm saying, people to be educated in that way to understand that life lessons are prevalent to who you are.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Life is the only thing, the only test, right? In a school, you get a chance to study and then you take a test. In life, it's a complete opposite.
Yep.
You get the test first, and then you'll get the chance to study. You know what I'm saying? You get the chance to learn from that test afterwards, And if you can understand that, I started picturing all the things, all the tests as a learning experience. You know what I mean? And
opportunities, right?
Opportunities, exactly. Wow. And if you can understand that aspect of life, that everything that happens is a learning experience and an opportunity, and everything will get better over time.
It's a choice.
It is. It's completely a choice. Your
mindset has to be teachable, to be like, oh, well, if this isn't working for me now, what can I take from it and then move forward with it? Bruce Lee used to always say that if what I'm teaching you doesn't resonate, take what does and leave what doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
That's
beautiful, man. And we're slowly losing those Bruce Lees, Bob Marleys of the world. You know what I'm saying? The Gandhis of the world, because society's changing slowly. You know what I mean? So we're either becoming desensitized or more sensitized, which it's up to us.
I think as people, we lean too much on our feelings.
Yes, 100%.
And feelings are the biggest liars to ourselves.
100%.
And I could be a representation of that, because when you feel like you don't want to do something, but you know you have to do it, it's discipline, right?
Agreed.
So when you have to get up and go run or walk in the morning, first thing you do, oh, I don't want to get up. Go tell that to somebody who doesn't have legs. Wake up in an ER where people can't see, but yet you take it for granted. Like I've been in those situations.
Yeah.
And so once I got out of those situations, I was able to, you know, be like, well, I have a choice to do something, and so I'm going to do something.
See, I love that, man. You used your experience to create who you want to become in life.
Yes,
I love that, man. I really love that. And if I could have a message to everyone out there, it is that, and that alone. Use your experience to become that next best version of yourself. The discipline, the ambition, the self-control, the motivation, all that. Using what happened to you in the past,
it's done.
It's done. Past. Yeah, it's done. And I think a lot of the times, man, we talked about feelings just now.
Yes.
We weigh so heavy on, oh, well, you know,
I used to be this.
I used to, yeah.
Man, that's a big one. Like for me, I'm not as physically in shape as I was when I was 20. But when you're 30 and life hits you like a truck, things are going to happen. You could always make the adjustments and change, but I think it's safe to say that you don't want to be that 20-year-old, because if I was that fighter at 20 that I am today, I didn't live.
100%.
I didn't progress.
100%. And, you know, I used to watch a lot of motivational videos, right? Because growing up, I just always wanted to be somebody that inspired people. Yeah. Eric Thomas, you know what I mean?
Love E.T.
Love E.T.
Pastor E.T.
Love E.T. And I used to listen to him because he inspired me. And and I thought in my head, like, okay, I got to keep listening to E.T. I got to keep listening to E.T. to get where I'm going. I got to keep listening to E.T. Yeah. And then one day I realized, like, you can really only listen to E.T. so much. You have to keep acting.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So that is it. He said something one time. He said, and I resonated so heavy with that. He said, my father was never around. And when I got to a certain age, when I was 14, I not only understood that he wasn't going to come back, but I decided to leave it behind me and do something about it by bettering myself.
Oh, exactly. I love E.T. I've had conversations with him via Instagram. Thank God for social media.
Amazing.
But there was his one that made him big was how bad do you want it? Do you want it as bad as you want to breathe?
Yeah.
And I can literally say that I felt that, and I can say that from an incident that happened 4 years ago, because you don't want nothing as bad as you want to breathe until you can't breathe anymore.
Yo.
You know? Yeah. And having tubes stuck down my throat, it's like, man. Okay, I'm either gonna make through this or I'm meeting you, Jesus. You know, it's either one. And I was fortunate to heal from that, and I'm still healing from it. Damn. But you get to a point to where like all these people are talking to you. You can have people be kind to you. What are you doing with it?
100%.
Are you gonna walk through it? Are you gonna just shut her up and die? Like, the choice is yours. And E.T. is so incredible. Les Bowman is also one of my favorites, because I feel that there is a need in this generation and culture that people need realness, and they need real support.
They do.
You know,
enough of this sugarcoating shit, man. We sugarcoat everything. Like, oh, you can't say that. You can't say that. It's gonna hurt their feelings. There's a line between certain things you shouldn't say. You know what I'm saying? Like the F word, not fuck, but the other one. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The N word. You know, certain things you don't we just shouldn't, call each other. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But going beyond that, now, if you said something to somebody and they got offended by it, and if it wasn't something that was meant to be hurtful, that's on that person who got offended. Absolutely. Because if I said something that wasn't meant to be hurtful and you got offended, that's something that you have to work on you for. Not only that, you have to also use your words and tell people like, hey, I'm offended by this because X, Y, Z.
So there's two things I'll piggyback off you real quick. One, I'm responsible for my tone when I talk to you. I'm not responsible for your triggers. And if you have an instance or an issue with what I say, please have a conversation with me, because right then and there I will clarify it for you. And two, there's a saying that goes back a very long time that says there is life or death in the tongue. And if you are not speaking life over people, I would just tell you to be quiet, because the world is going to throw death at you all the time.
Yeah.
Situations and people are going to be hammering you down. Your coach is going to be drilling you. They want the best for you, and as they should. But if people in your circle who are not uplifting you and who are not being honest with you, you need to reevaluate your circle.
100%, 100%. And something I realize is the more successful I become, the less friends I eventually end up with.
Absolutely.
Because you start to understand that you are you to those people, not because you're you. So for example, I'm not me to everyone else because I'm Ode Osborne, an authentic person. I'm me to them because I am the UFC fighter, the person who owns a podcast, the person. So once I understood that, I realized, you know what? I'm a label to certain people.
Absolutely.
And so those people I don't really want to be around. If I'm like, oh man, this guy's in the UFC. This guy's in the UFC. I'm like, I don't want to be known to you, who's my friend, as Ode Osborne, the UFC fighter. I don't want to be known as like, hey man,
that's Ode.
Yeah, that's Ode. He's good people.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? He's good. I want to be like, hey, that Robby's a good dude, man. You should hang out with Robby. You know, so yeah, that's pretty much the type of people who I want in my life.
You want people that will be in the mud with you.
Yes.
You ever hear the term?
Come out the mud.
There's never an atheist in a foxhole, and I love that.
Yeah.
You could put that with anything. There's never a disobedient friend. There's not a mischievous woman in a foxhole, because when things get real in that foxhole, in that situation, you're gonna find out who's really with you, who's really riding with you. Fighters see it more and more every week as this year goes by. Yeah, they'll be your fan one week, and the next week they're blocked.
True.
You know,
100%.
There's nothing wrong with that block button.
100%. 100%.
You know. So it comes down to: do you want to better yourself, or do you want people to, you know, look at you in a certain like? Not. I love this term that people throw around a lot, is, you know, I used to like you, or I used to respect you. Yeah. And it's like, what do you mean?
Like, I'd be like, yeah, used to. Oh man,
because you know what? I used to not be this kind.
Yeah,
I used to not be this simple man. I used to not be this.
I used to want to put my foot in your ass.
Oh, absolutely. I get this all the time, man. Yeah. Funny you brought up Strickland. Strickland I met Strickland about 3 years ago, and he means well, right? And I remember first interaction, I was holding pads for one of my buddies. He's like, "You're a coach?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Yes, I am." He's like, "Pretty fat." And so I had to look at myself, and I had two options. I was like, you know what? I can play victim, or I could look at it as that, damn, that man is honest, and I got to change some shit. And since then, I really got back on, you know, I got to better myself. I'm not always going to be in this situation.
See, but had you taken that to heart personally and got in your feelings,
if I trusted my feelings,
then you would have been like, oh man, I don't like him for what he said. Easy. And that's the problem now with most of our society. You know, we get all up in our feelings and we don't like something that somebody says, but a lot of the times it's, you know, it's true. You know what I'm saying? If the shoe fits. So I love that, man. Yeah. I really love that.
No, and so that's one of the it's one of the real, like, people who care will say it no matter what the repercussions are. Because if you came with good intentions, that's not going to diminish a friendship. Yeah. That's not going to diminish, like, say you were to say something and it totally caught me off guard. I could look at it and be like, damn, he don't fuck with me no more. Or I could look at it and be like, he meant well. Why am I triggered by this?
100%, man.
You know, and that's all therapy. That's
perspective too. It's perspective, you know, and that's something that I try to teach when I go to into the talk to the kids. It's all about, life is about changing your perspective. You know, life's about a lot of things, but that's one of them. Absolutely. It's one out of the 1 million things that life's about.
I think the fact that we are becoming adults that realize that, hey, our parents didn't have it together as best as they put on. Yes. You learn something called grace. Yes. And so, like, anytime I get in that situation where I got to talk to my family, I'm like, okay, you didn't have it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I try to be as kind as I can. Amazing. Because you look at situations like people who may not speak the best English, or you look at it from their point of view, in their shoes. You really get to learn, like, humility. You know, when you learn how to travel and you got to use the bathroom, you wish you would have learned another language. And you and you see how hard that is. You're like, damn, dude, It's a life lesson.
Oh man.
Man.
Well, Robby, it was a pleasure to have you.
For having me, brother.
Yeah, man. I love, having these conversations with
Always.
you. Every time I see you, we have such good conversations, you know. You're so respectable and authentic, and I love that about you.
Thank you, brother.
Don't ever change, man.
Right now.
And if you do change in the best way possible, but you already are. So I appreciate you coming on. Before I go, guys, I want to show you guys, there's a guy on social media. I met him at the Planet 13 dispensary. Ooh. And he was like, hey, I make custom jewelries like ring and open face fangs. And I was like, open face fangs? What's an open face fang? I don't know what that is. I grew up in the grill era. I've never been big in grills, but I was like, I'm down to try an open face fang. So if y'all ever want to check out open face fangs,
gleaming.
Check out my guy, Q_crown. I don't know. I probably won't have these in for long. I just wanted to, see how they jive with me. Mm-hmm. Q_crown on Instagram. Shout out to him. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much again, Robby.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you to my amazing engineer, Lana, behind the camera, who you guys haven't been able to can you say hi, Lana? Oh, wait, hold up. Lana's.
Hi, guys. Did you guys hear me? There you go. Hi, guys.
So thank you, Lana. Thank you, Robby.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Wagwan with Ode Osborne. Out.